games. It's ScrubGames. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames.
How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we are back with the Understand How to Build series, where I go over all the leaders in a given set to help you understand how to build them to suit you and your playstyle. Now, the format of this has changed a little bit, so hopefully it's changed for the better. Let me know feedback in the comments below if you feel it's better or worse, depending. I've changed it up to make it a little bit more helpful to everybody, because there were comments about certain parts being there, but I've changed it up to hopefully make it a lot better. But before we get into it, do feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It keeps you updated with my videos as when they drop, and by clicking that notification bell, you can get alerts when my videos do drop, so you can watch them there and then, or at a later time suits you best. So, with that out of the way, let's go into it and help you understand how to build this new leader. So for today, we are covering Kylo Ren, being the first leader we're going to go over. Because what we like to do with this series is go over all the leaders in the color order, so we go with blue first, before we move on to green and red and yellow, and we go over the villainy ones before we go over the heroic ones. So the first one we've got of this one, the villainy ones, is Kylo Ren. Now this is a pretty interesting one, and probably one of my favourite leaders from the set, not in terms of character, but in terms of playstyle, and that's because it's got a really cool effect. Now with leaders, they do sometimes however have the effect be the same when they deploy for one in the lead area, but just a bit stronger when they deploy. Sometimes they change altogether, and that's what Kylo has. He kind of has an effect that changes when he does deploy, but his leader area effect helps out with his effect when he does deploy. So Kylo Ren, we're not alone yet. We're not done yet. Is the new leader. He does deploy quite late at 7 resources. That means that once you hit 7 resources or more, you can then go ahead and take an action, the epic action, which is a once per game effect that you can use to deploy him to the ground arena. So that's pretty cool. He does come with the Force and First Order traits, which Force being a very beneficial trait that all leaders have in this set. First Order, not so much benefit at the moment. Now, when he's in the leader area, he does have an effect, which is an action, so an action you can take. So it takes up one of your actions, and you need to tap him as the cost. And what it does is you discard a card from your hand. Then, if you discard an upgrade using this effect, you get the draw card. So that means you can discard absolutely any card in your hand if you want to, but only if it's an upgrade you discarded where you get the draw card and replace it. It's pretty simple there. Discard upgrades, draw cards. So it means you might have to have more upgrades than usual in your deck to facilitate its effect. And like I said, it does pay into when he does deploy, because when he does deploy, it comes down, like I said, 7 resources. Comes down as a 5/5, so not the best for that kind of deploy. Deploying quite late, you will want better stats, but it comes as a 5/5. He does have Sentinel as well, though, which is a really nice skill. So what it means is that while a unit with Sentinels in an arena, your opponent can attack other units in that arena or your base until they get through that Sentinel. Now, if you have one Sentinel, they have to go for that one. If you have multiple Sentinels, they can pick which Sentinel they want to attack. But it just protects all your other units that don't have Sentinel and also your base. Now, his effect he now has when he does deploy is a when deployed effect, which ties in perfectly, so when he deploys he gets this effect, and that is to play any number of upgrades from your discard pile on this unit. Now, the thing I need to point out here is that when it comes to hyperspace, which is the full art ones, to non-hyperspace cards, which is the non-full art, then the text kind of differs a bit, where the non-hyperspace has kind of text to say like friction stuff. So in this case, you still have to pay the cost for these upgrades. You don't pay them for free, because I thought that, but no, you still got to pay the cost for these upgrades. So you don't get to play all the upgrades from your discard for free. That would be nuts, like I thought it originally was, but you have to pay the costs. So, and hyperspace, it kind of doesn't have that, because it wants to clear it up to make it so you can see the art a bit more, because the art is pretty nice on Kylo. Now, this means you can spend the whole game before you deploy using Kylo's effect to ditch the upgrades in your discard pile to set him up. So when you do deploy, you can then chuck them all on, as long as you pay for all the ones you want to put on him, and make him a big beefy unit. Now, I've got games where I've made him like 21, 24, like huge stats, like a huge bulky amount of health, and a good reasonable amount of power. And it's just really beneficial, because it means that while you're digging for your deck to find things you want, you're also setting up so when you deploy, he can become a powerhouse or become really, really useful. So this basically means that in this deck, you're going to want more upgrades. We're going to focus a bit more on each aspect to kind of see what kind of upgrades he has available to him. But that is essentially Kylo. So when you're building your deck with Kylo, you're more focusing on what upgrades you can put in your deck more than most things like Ever Leaders, and thinking about what you can get the benefit for. You get the benefit of the Force, the way that you can filter for your deck a little bit quicker as well, and also upgrades. Now, another thing with leaders as well is they have a showcase, and this is the showcase for Kylo. What I reckon is a very, very nice showcase. Probably one of the nicest we got in the set. Not the nicest, but one of the nicest. And do remember that with showcases, they are just alternate art of leaders that look a little bit nicer and more foily. So you can kind of bling out your deck and make your deck look extra fancy. But since it's art, then art is subjective. You can either like it, and that's fair enough. You can also not like it, and that's also fair enough. It just depends on your own view. Because when it comes to art, only your view matters, because you're only going to be the one playing with the card. So that is it for the leader. Now we're going to get into it and get to the next part of understand how to build Kylo. Now, this is usually the part where I go over the basics of the game. So if you're a brand new player or a newish player learning about Star Wars, you can get as much information as possible. But the issue is, I did always have this in, but then it made the videos a lot longer, made me have to repeat myself over and over again for the same things to make sure it's in each video. And also they usually get comments where people just said it's not needed, mostly from veterans that didn't know how to skip the video and move to the part they wanted. So I've kind of made a separate video, so you should have a link now about it, hopefully. It's difficult to work out how I can put this on YouTube, but I got a link, a little card or something like on the screen, so you can click that to go to the a video I've made, which is understanding the basics of set 5. So what I'm trying to do for every set is make a video to cover the basics that you get from that set. So start with each set, the brand new basic things that new set gives. So I've done a whole big one for the 86. I haven't done it for any previous ones. So it's a big set 5 one, helping you understand the basics of the game entirely, and also what new mechanics and stuff set 5 brings, because it does bring a whole load of new stuff. So if you're brand new or really new to the game, go check that out before continuing the rest of the video, and then come back to it once you've checked that out. If you're a veteran, let's just carry on and check out, or if you come back, let's carry on and check out the rest and help you understand how to build Kylo. So with the aspects, you get 4 different options, because aspects are the colors you basically get on each leader and your base. And usually, well, before this set, it was the fact that you could have access to 3 aspects. Always have access to 3 aspects. But now with some leaders we've got now, you can get you can have basically 3 aspects that you have available. You can have just 2, or you can even just 1 if you want to go to hardcore mode to see if you can try that fun little way to play. But usually with leaders, especially with Kylo, you get access to 3 aspects. And you always get 2 from your leader, being you're always going to have Villainy and Vigilance, being black and blue for your leader. And then depending on which base, you have 4 different options. You either have double blue if you go with blue base, blue-green with a green base, blue-red for a red base, and blue-yellow for a yellow base. Now what we're going to do is go through all these different aspect combinations, see which ones actually work and are decent or good to go with Kylo, and what available options you have for each of them. So let's check it out. So first one we're going to start off with is blue, because, well, Vigilance, if you prefer the actual name of the aspect, because this is the aspects that Kylo gives himself, as well as going double blue, which is something you can do if you want to lose access to a whole other aspect, but have access to some double blue powerful cards. So starting off with the base, this is what you have in terms of base options. You have, well, nice thing about Kylo is he doesn't need the Force. So that's a benefit. Even though we've got this brand new mechanic in the game, he's a leader from the new set that doesn't need to use it. So you can either use it if you want to. If you don't want to use the Force, that's a good thing. You don't have to. So if you wanted to use the Force, the bases you have access to are Vision's Temple or Shadow Undercity. There's a way to generate the Force, which is pretty nice ones. You have to. It depends on what you prefer and how to gain the Force if you want to do it. Once a turn with the rare base Virgin's Temple, or multiple times potentially a turn with Shadow Undercity or a Night Sister cave or city or whatever it's called for the other one. Now if you wanted different bases, since you don't need to use the Force, you have things like Colossus if you want maximum health. It gives you 35 health over standard 30 that most common bases have, or skillless bases have. But then the downside, because there's always a negative if you've got more than 30 health, and that is that you only have 5 cards in your opening hand instead of 6. Another base you can have is Pal City, which is a pretty nice one, which counts give your leader when it's deployed an extra 1 health. But you do have 26 health, so it depends if you want that. If you want a bit more health to have Kylo be more a little bit more bulky but less health, or you can have the standard 30 health bases that give you the standard, probably best, like the third most health in the game, but has no effect, so it depends on it. So basically, first thing you want to do is to see what base you want in that aspect and pick it. So these are some of the better options. Next, we want to look at upgrades, because upgrades are Kylo's forte, because he's all about discarding a card, and as long as that card's an upgrade, you can draw a card. So you might want to put more in as possible, and if you are putting more upgrades, you don't want to be useless like they can be in majority of situations. You want to be useful for you, so you want to either, and since Kylo, when he deployed, can put more on, well, put upgrades on this card on himself, you want to be discarding cards that you can put on him that give him a bit benefit, like more health, more effects, things like that. So we got some here. Not all of these are amazing, but these are some of the probably better options for blue. Now I've put you got the Villainy ones of Brutal Traditions and Kylo Ren's lightsaber. These are pretty nice ones. Brutal Tradition is one that you don't have to put on Kylo, but then if you defeat something, you can use it to put on. You can use it as an action from the discard pile to put on a unit. So as a way, if you take something out, you can then upgrade it from your discard pile. Still paying the cost. Could be useful. Not amazing, but it's an option. And Kylo Ren's lightsaber is a good one if you're with Kylo. Playing Kylo, of course, and then you go into yellow because it's a nice little upgrade, gives you 3 health and 1 power, which is pretty decent. And then once equipped to a force unit, that unit gains, this unit can't beat exhaust by enemy card abilities, which means you take away a whole thing that yellow can do, which is tapping things down, which is really annoying, but it's a nice way to combat it. It's really good there. Now I should put these together, but you've got the kind of Mandalorian kind of thing you've got here, where you've got Foundling and Mandalorian armor. Now, Foundling is an upgrade that is as a 1 cost. It gives a 1/1 boost to a unit, and also gives it the Mandalorian trait. And Mandalorian's armor is a 2 cost, 1 free, just like Kylo's lightsaber. That when played, if the attached unit is a Mandalorian, you can give it a shield token. So you can put both these in if you want for Kylo, and then you can play Foundling on it to make Kylo a Mandalorian. And then when you put the Mandalorian upgrade or Mandalorian armor on him afterwards, he gains a shield because he's then treated as a Mandalorian thanks to Foundling. This could be a very handy thing if you want to play Kylo with some really good stats, because Mandalorian gives you decent stats, and also gives him shields as well, because those shields can stack as well. So if you put a Foundling and 3 armors on him, which would be 7 if you want to deploy him on his exact turn you can deploy, you can go give him 1/1 boost, and then give him another 3/9, because 3 Mandalorian armors, and then give him 3 shields as well, which don't disappear like a jetpack. You also got bounty upgrades like Top Target, which would be useful, where they're ones that you can either ditch off Kylo's effect to draw for your deck, or put on your opponent's units to get effect. In this case, it's healing. And then you've got some other pretty nice ones, like you've got Bolster Endurance being a new upgraded one of Resilience, I think we got from set 1, which was a 1 cost upgrade that gives an extra 3 health. Whereas this one does the same thing, but it also gives you 1 power, but it's restricted to a force unit. So it's a better version of it. I put Imprisoned in here because Imprisoned could be a very handy one, because sometimes you want to shut the effects off of some cards. Like if you want opponent's got a Crate Dragon, or what the best examples are, if your opponent's got a Crate Dragon or a Relentless on board that stop you from using the first event or do damage every time you play a card, you might want to shut that off. And Imprisoned is the perfect way to do this, because you attach any non-leader unit, and once attached to that unit, it loses all abilities and can't gain any. Now it doesn't give any boost, which is good, but you can basically shut the abilities off, which is pretty handy. And at the very least, you can ditch off Kylo to draw cards. Now for the bottom row, we've got some probably stronger ones that you use outside of the Mandalorian armor we've already gone through. We got Electro Staff, which is a nice word people sometimes try to use, where it gives you it's a 2 cost 2/2 boosting upgrade, which is solid. And the attached unit, while the attached unit is defending, the attacker gains minus 1 power. So it means you take 1 less damage from a unit attacking you. So you can stack this up. Give him, if you put all 3 on, you give him a 6/6 boost, and now he takes 3 less damage when he's attacked into, which is cool. You got Entrench, which is both a really nice one to defend yourself, or use it to boost your own units, because you can boost your own units and make them 3/3. Now they can't attack bases, but you can use that buff on that unit to now help control your opponent's board. Or you can put on your opponent's units, and while you control nothing in that arena, they can't attack at all, because they can't attack bases because of the effect. And if they can't attack if you don't have anything to attack into for them, they can't attack at all. You got Pair Position as well as a nice upgrade that allows you to, when played, exhaust the unit and also get minus stats, which is a very nice one. And like I said, it's at the very least, if you don't want to use it, is not useful, you can always ditch it for Kylo. And the 2 non-blue we've got that kind of fit in, because we're trying to discover the stuff Kylo has access to just on his own. We have Grievous's Wall Bike and Constructor Lightsaber. Now I put Grievous's Wall Bike in there because it's not the best upgrade. It's a 4 cost 3/3, so it's It's alright, but it's not amazing because it's quite costly. But this is handy for if you go on Kylo and you go against other blue decks and you build him up, deploy him, build him up, and your opponent just entrenches him. That means you can't have bases. It means you're not really doing anything with this buffed up unit. But if you put Grievous' War Bike on it, this gives the unit overwhelm. So that means now, if he attacks a unit, any excess damage goes to your opponent's base. So you can swing with this huge unit through your opponent's units, and any excess damage, which could be a lot, go to your opponent's base instead. So you can still damage their base through that. So that's why I put that in there. And then you've got Constructing Lightsaber being a very nice one. Most lightsabers you have are free cost 3/3s, but this one is a free cost 2/3. But because we were playing Villainy, it gets the effect of this: if the attached unit is a Villainy unit, it gains raid 2, so you swing it as a 4/3 instead of a 2/3, which is pretty nice. So it's a pretty nice unit you can put in any version of Kylo. So that is the upgrades, and another thing that's beneficial from Kylo ditching upgrades is that where he can just discard the card and discard an upgrade to set thing in the drop, he can trigger very easily both Anakin Skywalker's new legendary in blue from the new set, one played effect, because he's got 2 one played effects, which is if there's a certain card in your discard pile, you can give a unit -3 power and 3 health. Now this is, if you can get both of them off, this is just good as the legendary Luke Skywalker from set 1, which could -6/6, which is very powerful. And Kylo could easily set this up, because where he's just ditching a card from your hand every turn, and if he's an upgrade, draw your card. You can put in heroic upgrades in your deck to make sure you can get that in the deck, in the discard, so that way you can go ahead and get the full effect of Anakin. Because it's quite difficult for any other deck to be able to ditch it, because you've got to get in the discard. You can't just discard cards willy-nilly, but that you play them. And if you're playing a heroic unit in it, heroic card in a Villainy deck, you're going to incur the aspect penalty, making it cost 2 more. So any effect that you can get the ditch in for free or without playing the card is really handy. So we've got Kylo built in with an effect to basically do this. And the nice thing about it as well is that you've got some good options that you can even put on Kylo, being these ones here. So you've got Jedi Holocron, Jedi Trials, Luke's Lightsaber, Heirloom Lightsaber, or Jedi Lightsaber. These are all ones you can ditch off of Kylo, put in discard pile, so now you can get if there's a heroic card in discard pile effect of Anakin off live, while also having innately your Villainy ones. So that's pretty nice there. So next we have some Vigilance cards. We have some pretty nice ones, but the thing with Vigilance is that the better cards are in Heroism and Villainy. So there's some nice ones that aren't amazing, but there are some strong ones, but the better cards are in Villainy and Vigilance, and Heroism. So we've got things like Regional Governor, which is very nice. Shuts what's in play, name a card, what's in play. That card cannot be used by your opponent. So stopping your opponent from using the cards, especially if you get Kylo out as a Sentinel Dependent, you can basically shut him off a whole card. And you got things like Watto and Landing Shuttle being nice turn with 2 units that are not too bad. You got Kiadi Mundi for extra draw. Graceful Purgle is a pretty nice space unit, one of the first lot of non-vehicle space units, which is cool. And even Anakin Skywalker being a very powerful card that's probably a staple for any deck that can go ahead, a staple deck that plays blue that can get both Heroism and Vigilance, Heroism and Villainy units in the cards in the discard. Now for some events, you got some pretty nice one. Destructive Birth being a very nice handy one. They deal with the Yellow Vader that's still about from the last set, and also you've got the lots of removal really. You've got Take Down Fellow Dragon Directed. It's 4 cost events that defeat something in a certain way, and also you got things like Vanquish and Rebels Fall, which hit hit more options with less restrictions, but still have certain restrictions. It's like, unlike Rival Fall, who just for 6 defeats anything, even leaders. Now in Villainy, that's where I say you got the better stuff. Like you got some better units and better events. Now you got some good early turn units like Pershing and Vader 4 and Onyx Brute. Be nice ones to play on the first turn of the game and basically get the ball rolling. You have good utility ones like the Client, Lieutenant Charlton, Lon Pike, all have some good effects. The Client with some healing. Charlton with some defense, without being an early sentinel could be big, and then Lon Pike able to put some shields on units while also putting your opponent's units, but then you put on the opponent's units that don't matter. I think some good bigger units, spaceship removal, like you've got Gunship, Snoke, and Avenger being very good big units. Alongside that, you also got some Villainy events that also remove. So you got Power Dark Side, be able to being just like a smaller version of Avenger, where Avenger's effect is when played or on attack. The opponent chooses one of their non-leader units and defeats them. Now, Parallax has the same effect, but it doesn't say non-leader. It's just the opponent defeats one of your units, so you can defeat leaders. Now, the big benefit of these two is that the less your opponent has on board, the more devastating they are, where the more they have on board, the less impactful it is. Then we got No Glory, which is the better version of Vanquished now, because you get to take control of the unit and defeat it. So if your opponent's got when defeated units with when defeated, or units that can be defeated by your opponent's effects, you can take control of it. Now you own it, so you defeat it. So now you can defeat it, get around that. And also, if it had a when defeat effect, you get to trigger it. Now that's normally better, but there are some effects that are when defeats aren't great, so you want to hit those. But ones that do have good benefits, like K2SO or Ruthless Raider, are good to hit with that. And then we got the Dark Hole or Mass Nuke of Super Laser Blast as well. Also, you got some Villainy cards, and aren't too many Villainy cards that like synergize well with Kylo, but you got some good ones here. Like you got Shuttle ST, which is a good one, which is a shielded unit, comes out and then can take control and move around token upgrades, being experienced in shields, which is cool. And at the very least, you can move the shield. You can put the shield on itself and then move it to wherever you want. You got Army of Father and Merciless Contest being things to remove, like Merciless Contest being a never version of Parallax Side, just so it hits both of you instead of just your opponent, and also doesn't hit non-leaders like Avenger. And then Army of Father is a good one because your opponent's an option where you choose and you deal 7 damage to an enemy unit, unless its controller says no. If they do say no, you get to draw 3 cards instead. So it's either you're going to take 7 damage to that unit, or I'm going to draw 3, which is it kind of thing. And you got Execute Order 66 being a new card from the a card from set 3, which never really saw play, but now we're getting more Jedi units and Jedi leaders. This is a very nice one because it's a 4-cost event that does 6 damage to each Jedi unit, every single one on the board. Even your own as well, but you don't have it. I don't think you can have that in your deck. And then for every unit defeat this way, you get a Clone Trooper token. But then if you're taking out a 6 health, like a big Jedi unit and giving it a 2/2 with no effect, it's really handy. Like the new Obi-Wan, I'm gonna take that out so you can't start like attacking. Taking out a 3/6 that can give experience out and replacing it with a 2/2. 2/2 skillless token is very good and really good. And then you also got the Force Focus as well, because you got then Karis, we got Karis, we got the Night Sister package of Karis, Night Sister Warrior, Thousand Assassin, or Daka for a nice little one, and even Drain Essence as a way to gain the Force as well without using a base. You got Ever Force units you can play turn 1 to get the Force, like Secretive Sage and Kylo. You got some good benefits of the Force and things like Chirrut being a very good Sentinel that gets the benefit of the Force, and Tyrannus as well being a nice benefit if you have the Force. They're not being a new Force card, but it binds all things. Where if you go for a more Force focus, you can start moving damage off units and opponents' units, which makes it more Force units, makes it a little bit better. And you got ways to use that Force token you get with Cure Wounds and Shatter Point as well as ways to heal you up or even remove things from board, which is cool. So you don't have to go for a Force focus, but you do have some good options within it. So that brings us then to the double aspect, and like I said, if you go for double aspect, essentially what you're doing is you're losing access to a whole other aspect of like command, aggression, and cunning, but having access to these 12 cards instead. So you're losing access to a whole aspect, but these 12 cards, are available to you. Now, so some pretty strong cards in here. Like you got pretty nice ones, some pretty useful ones as well. But you got to think, does this benefit Kylo? Now looking in, we've got 2 upgrades, and you remember Kylo's upgrade focus, but none of these upgrades are helpful because one turns a unit into a 5/5 base unit, which Kylo already is, and second chance can't be even used on Kylo because it can't be used on leader units, so not very useful. Outside of that, you got some like Sentinels here, which Kylo's already Sentinel, you don't have to worry about that, and some other cards like some cards that heal or protect, which could be useful, but essentially these are the cards that are good or bad in it. So out of those 12, only 4 are actually pretty decent for Kylo. So you've got rid of like the Sentinels aren't useful, the upgrades aren't useful. Doom, there's a lot of 4 costs, so like Doom isn't that great to use, and also the Finn and Duchess Champion aren't very good from the 3rd set. The nice ones you do have is Vigilance being a very nice upgrade, or a very nice event. Lots of options, lots of good things. It even gives you the alternative of going for a mill strategy against the high control decks. Midnight Repair is nice to be able to heal up Kylo with 8 damage, so keep him healthy once you do build it, bring him out and make him beefy. Equalize is a nice way that if you have less units, start taking out your opponent's units, it's very good against those Vader decks. And also Hondo then as a way to come down, like one of those many 4 costs you've got in blue, that comes down shielded and can start moving around upgrades and take control of your opponent's upgrades, put on your own, which is pretty good. So essentially, for double aspect, it's not a great one. It's not a great option for Kylo. You can give it a try, but I feel like it's not going to be a great option compared to some of the other options. So we're going to have a look at those now. But double room so far, no. So next we have command, and this is the ramp aspect. So this is the one that can accelerate your resources and go ahead and get out some bigger things quite quickly. Now once again, you don't have to have the force. You don't have to have the force for Kylo, so you don't have to opt it for it if you don't want to. If you do, you got some bases for the force, be Jedi Temple, as well with Starlight Station, I think it's called, and also Mystic Monastery as well as your force bases. The Mystic Monastery is probably a pretty good one where you can gain the force by just using action, gain the force, but you can use it only 3 times. So since Kylo isn't one that needs the force, and if you don't use the force that often with the cards you do put in for the force, then it's a nice way to kind of gain it without needing to do anything specific like attack. Now, green bases are very good. Like, there's a lot of good green bases. You've got Energy Conversion Lab is a very nice one, or ECL for short, which allows you to play a unit, paying its cost at 6 or less, but give it ambush. And with the new Darth Vader we've got in this set, that's a very good reason to run this base. Be able to give that as a way to get the full use of Vader, make it from a alright card on its own to an amazing card with ambush. And you got Data Vault if you want to have extra health, being more health than the standard 30. But it does mean you have to play a 60 card deck minimum instead of 50 card deck minimum. So you increase your deck size, but you get that free extra health. Or you can just go to 30 health bases. Depends what you want. Now, depending on what the benefit is, you should make sure you check the bases. But there's a lot of good options for green when it comes to bases. Now for upgrades, we've got some pretty nice ones. You got you got the first of the villainy ones in Inquisitor's Lightsaber and Craven Power. Inquisitor's Lightsaber isn't too great, but Craven Power is pretty nice because it's almost like the other one branch, a little bit different, but almost the same cost, same buff as be a 2/2 and then does damage. But the difference is that the power is an upgrade, so you have to put on a unit, and the power up is the same, but it's permanent because it's an upgrade going on a unit. And then the damage is spread out instead of for Overwhelm Branch, damage can be spread out however you choose, whereas this is that power done to one unit. So this one hits one unit and it's permanent boost because the upgrade goes on the unit, whereas Overwhelm Branch is a temporary boost for that turn, and then you get spread out damage how you choose. So a pretty nice one, a very good one to pick, probably one of the better ones to go in the deck. You got some bounties as well. I just realized I've doubled up the bounty with Vigilance Cry. I think there's supposed to be never one to go in here instead. I can't remember if there's 2 for green. But Bounty Hunter's Quarry and Price on Your Head are Bounty Hunter's Quarry is pretty nice in the fact that if you put on these are ones that you can just ditch basically just to dig through if they're not useful, or put on your opponent's units, defeat that unit, and then claim the bounty. So Price on Your Head ramps, whereas Bounty Hunter's Bounty Hunter's Quarry, gets out some more units on your board. And then for other upgrades, you got Academy Train if you wanted just a base 2-cost 2/2 upgrade. It's very vanilla. It's more for a budget if you're playing Pauper kind of thing like that. You got Legal Fight, which is a pretty nice one. It's a 2-cost upgrade that gives an extra 2 health and allows you to capture a unit that has less health than the unit's attached to. So put on leader, put Craven Power and Legal Fight on together on your leader, and you're making it a 7/7 and capturing a 7 power, so less than 7 power, and doing 7 damage to another unit, which is pretty cool. Now you have Yellow Star Compass, which is a pretty nice one. You can put on a unit, and then look at the top 2, I think it's the top 3 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it and draw it. So it's kind of a little searcher. Not amazing, but an option. And then you've got some bigger buffs in General's Blade and the Darksaber, which won't get the benefit of, but they're upgrades that give good buffs for their costs. And then we've got Traitor's been a nice one you can have. This is the one that allows you, because you can ramp, you can get out a little bit quicker. Like you can ramp up and play it sooner than just 5 resources. You can get to that 5 resources a bit quicker, especially if you use resupply on turn 2. And this allows you to take when your opponent's smaller units that are like lower cost units. So if they play a unit, then buff it up, you can take control of it so it's yours. And if not, you can always ditch it for Kylo. So these are some of the good upgrades you've got access to for for green. And remember, you've also got some heroic ones for Anakin. Now, you only got a few, like I said, you got more in blue, but you got some in green. So if you want to use Yoda's Lightsaber or Inspire Mentor as one options in your deck for whatever reason, you got those as green ones you can put in to help, say, Anakin get the full benefit of him. Now the ramp cards you got 4 good ramp cards. You've got the unit ramp cards in Super Laser Technician and Resupply Carry. Super Laser Technician being the better one because it's cheaper, comes out earlier, and just like Resupply, it comes out on turn 2 to use, and is a unit as well, so you can force it to, you can attack into your opponent's unit, attack the base to kind of throw some damage about before they get rid of it, and also it ramps in ready. It's the only one that comes in ready to use. Resupply Carry is a later one, but gives you a good space unit to come down and also ramps, and then you got Pricing Head and Resupply. Pricing is a little bit trickier because you can put on a unit turn 1, but you have to wait after the turn. You got to try and defeat it, and if you don't defeat it, you're not really making use of it. But it's something that can, if you don't need it, can help you dig through with your deck with Kylo. And Resupply is just the easiest one, just to play it and ramp it straight away. No need to defeat like Super Laser Technician to play it. You just play it, put in your resources, and you'd go. But it comes in rested when you do it. So those are the ramp cards you have access to if you go for Kylo. Then for Villainy, you got some really nice ones, not too much, but you got some good stuff. Like you've got a little bit of healing with Crumb that you can keep reoccurring because you can always bounce it back to your hand and just throw out some damage. You got some pretty nice Sentinels like Phase 3 Dark Trooper being a pretty nice one. You've got only 3 Force units in the Villainy side of Command, being all have Ambush and all being like Sith kind of like Force units. You've got 8th Brother being a new one. And then you got Vader and Maul being 7-drop ambush as well, having all different effects, but very strong ones. Very good set, all having good amount of health and power on them as well, being quite high costing, but good thing it's in ramps, you can play it out earlier. Then you got some big space units like Relentless and Devastator being nice ones you can get out to kill some havoc. Relentless shutting off the first event's effect that your opponent tries to play every turn, and Devastator being a huge gatekeeper in the space arena, being a sentinel and dealing damage equal to the resources you have when he comes out. You have some good events as well, like Overwhelm Barrage and Palpatine's Return being very strong ones. Some of the very strong, like Overwhelm Barrage being one of the strongest events in the game, and also Palpatine's Return being able to reuse things, basically being a Call to Haunted or Monster Reborn if you play Yu-Gi-Oh! For your units to bring them back after being used. So pretty nice ones there. And in Command you also got some pretty nice stuff, but once again it's another colour where you got some nice cards in the normal side of it, but better cards are in Villainy and Heroism, so they're like the Force sides of them. Now you got things like Ego Escort Fighter, which is a nice one to help combat those space focused decks as well. You got good things like Cobb Bump, which when defeated gets you to look at mill or 2 cost or less from the top 10 cards of your deck, and then they'll play it for free when you discard when you do. Then you got some ambushes like Agent Callus or I can't remember what this one's called. Torrent Attack, things like that. Or I think that's what it's called. Anyway, I'll go for that. You've got Agent Callus, where if you ramp up, you can have these ambush your opponent's units to kind of kill some of these units they've had on earlier turns. Agent Callus, if any time another unique unit is defeated, you get a draw card, so a bit of draw there as well. Whereas Torrent Attack, it has ambush if your opponent controls a Force unit. So if you're against a Force deck, you get to play this out, and it's a 5/5/5 instead of Callus being a 5 cost 4/4. You also got Reinforcement Walker being a good top end card as well, being a big beat stick, a big 6/9 unit that can come down whenever it plays or attacks or is played. You can then look at the top card of your deck. Look at the top card of your deck and either draw it, add it to your hand, or discard it to heal 3 damage in your base. So pretty nice options there. That's a pretty good event. So you got Time Dimension. It'd be more ways to get ambushed to make more use of that Vader outside of ECL. Dogfight allow you to attack with a unit even if it's exhausted again, which isn't very nice, but it can't attack bases. And then choose sides, allowing you to choose a friendly unit and an enemy unit and switch control of them. So choose your opponent's big unit that they've got and choose your tiny little unit you've got and switch control of them, which is pretty cool. It's pretty nice, more of a sideboard card as well. And for Force, there's not much of a Force focus, which luckily Kylo doesn't need in green. These are some that you think there wasn't many Force units or any Force units I think before the new set, and there's only a few now. So these are some options you've got. Nothing really amazing. You got Nimian Strike and Maz Kanata being non-Force cards, but allows you to attack with a Force card, giving a bit of a power buff for that attack as well, which is pretty cool. And you got the other ones to be nice Force units that kind of use the Force or do things or be forced to gain you Force, but nothing amazing there. So coming into green, we can say that this is a good way to play Kylo because you've got some very good options. Green has a very good synergy with blue when it comes to the villainy side for a good controlling and good helping out. Like, you got the good support from like things like Vader and Maul, and also some good upgrades, and also strong cards like Overwhelm Barrage and also Ramp as well. So you can deploy Kylo a little bit earlier and play bigger things earlier too. So let's move on to aggression. So next we have aggression. This is a pretty cool one because this has some really cool force stuff, and it's very good damage focus as well. Now you've got some pretty interesting bases you've got for this, like not amazing, but you've got some varied choices. Like you've got the force bases, which all require you to attack in some, like gain the force by attacking in some way, either by attacking on a force unit for the common ones, or doing at least 3 damage by combat to an enemy base for the rare one. Now outside of those ones, if you don't require the force because Kylo doesn't need to, you've got Target Tower is a nice one, being able to deal 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit. Less health, but a good way to finish off units you are just fall short of defeating. And then you've got Thermal Oscillator, being opposite of Data Vault, where it's got less health, but decreases the amount of cards you need minimum in your deck. So going for a 45 minimum instead of 50, which is cool. Increase consistency if you want to. Or you just got the 30 health base like normal. So there's the base options. Now for upgrades, you got some pretty cool ones. Like you got a lot of villainy ones in like Ruthlessness, Sith Holocron, Vader's lightsaber, Battle Fury, Fallen lightsaber, and Darth Maul's lightsaber. So you got a fair few lightsabers. Now these are all pretty nice ones. Like Ruthlessness is a very cheap one. 1 cost for 2 extra power, and if you defeat a unit, when you attack and defeat a unit, you can deal 2 damage to your opponent's base. Sith Holocron, this time being a 1 cost 1/1 boost, but then on attack you can damage another unit by 2, and then you gain 2 power for that attack, if you do that anyway. Then you got the lightsaber, so you got Vader's lightsaber, which you don't get the effect of, so basically treat it as a vanilla one, but it's a 2 cost upgrade. It gives you extra 3 power and 1 health, which is opposite of Kylo's own lightsaber in blue. Fallen lightsaber, standard 3 cost 3/3, and if it's on a force unit, when you attack you deal 1 damage to all your opponent's ground arena units. Then you got Darth Maul's lightsaber, which same thing as Vader's lightsaber. It's vanilla because you essentially won't get the effect because your name's Kylo, not Darth Vader. Sorry, Darth Maul, and it gives a 4/2 boost instead of a 3/3. And then with the last one, you've got Battle Fury, being a same kind of stats as in Trent's, being a 2 cost that gives 3/3, which is very strong. But this one gives the effect of when you attack, you have to discard a card from your hand. Now, if you're swinging for a game, it doesn't matter so much. And if you've got no hand, you have to worry too much. So a pretty nice one, pretty good upgrade for the deck. And then for non-villainy ones, you've got things like Infiltrator Skill, being a 1 cost 1/1, it gives Saboteur, so you can ignore Sentinels, which is good if you're going to go ham to your opponent's base. Hold Access Codes is an option, a 1 cost 1 attack boost. Where if you control more units when you play it, if your opponent controls more units than you draw a card. You got Arm to the Teeth, which is a nice one that you can go smuggle, so you can always resource it, so you can then play it out at a later point by smuggling out your resources. And this on attack allows you to give another unit plus 2 power. You got Death might be one of the bounty ones, but this one is a draw bounty, which is cool. And you got Heavy Blaster being a more expensive one, a 4 cost for only 2/2. But when played, you can deal 1 damage to a unit, a ground unit, then never damage that same unit, then never damage to the same unit, basically deal 3 damage to that same unit. So these are pretty nice upgrades that you can use and are all pretty solid options for the deck. Remember, once again, you have heroic lightsabers, heroic cards you can also put in to help get the full use of Anakin, and one's to different sides. So you've got heroic resolve, Mace Windu's lightsaber, and Night Saber. Now Night Saber you can't use at all. Mace Windu's lightsaber you're not going to get the effect of because once again you're not Mace Windu. There's no villainy Mace Windu unless you want to play really outside of aspect. But heroic resolve is a pretty interesting one because the 1 cost upgrade is going to cost you 3 if you want to play it. It gives a 1/1 boost to it, but also has an action where you can pay 2 and defeat itself on a unit, and an attack with that unit gives it 4 extra power. Because remember, you're losing the 1/1 boost beginning, getting 4 power, and Overwhelm, which is a pretty nice one. That could be actually probably a better one to use for Kylo if you're going for the heroic one. Now for villainy cards, you got some pretty solid ones. You got some good benefits. You got some good ones like the HK-47 is a good turn 1 play. Chronicles being one of the new good units as well. IG is pretty nice, being a unit that can be pretty beefy, depending on if your opponent's got units got damage, or be a pilot as well for space units. And then you got the cool force events being Force Lightning, Force Choke, which are very good but get some better effects. Better things if you have a Force unit. Remember, Kylo is a Force unit, so Force Lightning just normally shuts off abilities. But if you are a Force unit, you can pay extra resources to then do damage by 2 for every extra resource you spend. And Force Choke is just 5 damage to a non-variable unit, but the controller of that card draws a card. But if you control a Force unit, you can reduce it by 1, so it's a 1 cost event instead. You got some good space units, remember, because you don't want to skip out on space, because those are things like Vader. You got Kylo's TIE Silencer and IG 2000 being very good earlier turn ones. IG being able to deal 1 damage up to onto 3 different units, whereas Kylo's just a strong turn 1 unit. It can also is anti-hand control. And then you got some bigger units in Ruthless Vader and Devastator being your bigger end event space ships as well. Some pretty nice ones there. And in non-side aggression, probably should have done this first before going to Villainy, but you got these pretty nice ones. Now, Minx is a pretty nice one because both Kylos have the effect to discard a card to do something. So both need to discard a card to do something, which is the old Kylo is to buff something, new Kylo is to dig for your deck and draw a card and use upgrades. So this is a very nice one that you can play as turn 1, because you can start using this effect where you discard a card, deal damage. You can do this every turn thanks to Kylo. And unlike the every Kylo, you don't need something on the board to buff just to be able to get a full use of it. You got some good units like good spaceships like Saving Fang Fighter, knock off upgrades, or its Droid Missile Platform being a very hard hitter that even when defeated does damage back as well. You got the 1 ramp card in red, like the 1 ramp card outside of green being Chamsadula, which is a good unit to play out, and if your opponent's ramped, you get the ramp as well. And Kylo Dragon being a very strong, very solid late game card to help you close out a game. And also with events, you got Force Throw being one of the best cards, or one of the most hyped cards for the set, because now we got more Force units. You can get the full effect of it easier, and it's a good way to take out leaders by choosing yourself to discard instead of your opponent if you control a Force unit to make sure you guarantee a certain amount of damage. And good events like Darren Raid and Open Fire for damage, Bombing Run, the basic damage a whole arena by 3 damage depending on which one you choose, and Planetary Bombardment, just throw out indirect damage, gaining more if you control capital ships. So remember, if you want to go Force Focus, you also do have some good Force Focus cards, Force using cards, or even Force units to gain the Force, like you have Acolyte, which isn't a Force unit, but as a built-in way to gain the Force, you can play this, gain the Force even without using a Force base. You got some good Force units like 5th Brother, Grand Inquisitor, 7th Sister, Darth Vader, because you can opt as a pilot, or Palpatine is some good Villainy Force units that have some really strong effects. Then in the non-Villainy side for Force, you've got Jedi Hiding, which is a way to gain the Force, being a Force unit attacking if you use the Force base, or using the Force itself, plus the new hidden keyword. Marin as well, that add throw out some damage as well, which is pretty nice. And you got Quinlan and Asajj, which are really solid Force units with very good stats for their cost that complement each other, and can also gain the Force by attacking. And some events that also need to use the Force as well to do their effect, like Sorcerer's Blast and Do or Do Not. So looking at red, this is also a very good option to play Kylo. So red, so far, though blue, not so great. Command, very good, and aggression, also very good. So now we're going to look at the last one, being the Cunning aspect. So lastly, we got Cunning, and this is one where the bases aren't too great. So Cunning is one where you got a lot of good cards, a lot of good leaders, but the bases just fall short. So you got the standard Force bases if you do want to use the Force, being the attacking ones being Holy City and Crystal Caves for the attack with Force unit to gain the Force. And the rare one is Tomb of Elbrath, which you can gain the Force multiple times, but you need to exhaust one of your friendly units to do that, which isn't so great. And for other bases, you've got Petronac Arena, be able to give Kylo an extra 1 power while he's out and about, but you do have less health. Or Nabat Village, be able to take all your mulligan, but making your opening more consistent. If you don't get to keep the extra 3 cards you do draw, you got to still bottom deck it, but it makes your opening more consistent. So if you want more consistency, Nabat Village could be good, but if you don't want any of those, you've got the still standard 30 health bases to have as a minimal option. So when it comes to upgrades, there are some really nice ones in yellow. You got some good Villainy ones, you got some good non-Villainy ones. You might also notice that I have put in an aggression one in this as well. And that is because it is technically a Cunning card, because it's a 1 cost upgrade that gives an extra 2 power, but then if you want to play it and attack with you put on, you need to play it for one action, then attack for a second action. Where if you smuggle it, because it's one of those smuggle cards, you have to smuggle it using the smuggle cost is Cunning instead of aggression. So you can smuggle it out. It does cost 2 more, but then you get to attack straight away. So you can upgrade and attack in one action thanks to its effect. So one player uses smuggle, attack with the attached unit. So it's basically more of a Cunning card than it is aggression. It's played more in Cunning decks than aggression decks, because why do 2 actions to do its full effect for one instead when you can just do it both 2 actions in one go instead. And then for some villainy upgrades, you've got Corrupted Lightsaber, Index to Crimson Dawn, and Frozen Carbonite. Now, Corrupted Lightsaber isn't too bad, but it's not great. Probably not the best thing to use, but it's an option if you want to. Whereas Crimson Debt into the Crimson Dawn and Frozen Carbonite is a very good way to play, a very controlling way to play, because the Crimson Dawn upgrade is a 2-cost upgrade that makes it so if your opponent wants to ready the unit it's equipped to, they have to pay 2 resources, meaning you have to lose 2 of the resources by keeping them tapped down just to ready that unit. So if there's a unit they don't care about, they're normally going to leave it tapped. So they're either going to leave the unit tapped down so they can't restand it. Any time it readies. So I'm going to keep it rested so they can have access to all the resources, or pay the 2 so they can basically restand it and actually use it. Whereas Frozen Carbonite costs 1 more at 3, but when it's attached to a unit it can't ready, and when you do play it on a unit it gets tapped down. So you exhaust the unit and now it can never untap unless you get rid of this. So that's a pretty nice way to play a very more controlling route if you want to go for that, and blue-yellow is a very good one to play control. Now you have your bounties as well, like Wanted and Enticing Reward, which offers a pretty nice bounty. Wanted lets you untap resources, while Enticing Reward lets you find and get draw into more non-unit cards, which is pretty cool, so like more upgrades or events. And then for the last 4, these are the probably better ones to play and better reasons to play yellow. You got Snapshot Reflex, is a very, very good one, because when it's played, it gives a 1-cost 1/1 boost, and when played, you can attack straight with the unit. So this essentially turns Kylo into not just a deploy and buff up, but also attack. So you essentially deploy Kylo, uses when deployed to put all those upgrades on, and if one of them you get to attack straight away. So you get deploy and attack in one action, which is very, very strong. Now this is a card you can even play very strongly in any other aspect combination out of aspects, because a free cost to give 1/1 boost and an attack straight away is very solid for Kylo. You got Jetpack, be one that you can smuggle as well. You can resource it in and smuggle it later, and give the unit a shield plus extra 2 power, but the shield is temporary. If it's not used, it go at the end of the turn because it's shield to protect once. You got Ascension Cable as just like how we've got the one that gives Saboteur in red, you got it in yellow as well, but this time being a 2-cost that gives a 1 free, so extra 1 resource to get extra 2 health, which is not too bad, and also Saboteur. And you got Shadow Intentions. This is a very nice one because this essentially makes the unit unable to be captured, defeated, or returned to the owner's hand by enemy card abilities. Now it doesn't give any boosts, it does cost 3, but it just means that unit can't be taken out. Now you ignore the captured and returned to hand on a leader because a leader can't be captured or returned to hand. But making your leader be unable to defeat it is amazing, because if you did put deploy Kylo and put a load of upgrades on him, he's not going to be too big for it to be taken out by just attacking into. So what people are going to usually want to do is they're going to instantly defeat it, which having Shadow Intentions on makes it impossible, because it means now they can no longer Rivals Fall or just take out the leader with things like even Super Laser Blast and stuff like that. So a very nice way to protect yourself against blue decks that have removal to take out your leader. Now also you do have an upgrade as well that you can put, like every aspect now, well at least now has a heroic upgrade in their card pool. And for yellow it's Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber, and so once again another thing where you ignore the stats, ignore the effects on it, you just do it for the stats and the health if you want to put it on as an option, so to make sure you can get the full effect of Anakin. Now for Cunning, you got some pretty nice cards. You got some pretty nice non-villainy units. So you got some early ones like Greedo, Crafty Smuggler, and Lux Bon Terry as well, being nice ones. Bon Terry as well being a nice one, maybe if you want to put in against the new set to hand, because it means if you want to play anything cheaper using Hand's Effect, you can then, you won't place a card for less than the cost of the card, so it gets hand 2. It's very nice. You get to ready or exhaust a unit, so you can ready himself to attack, and then or exhaust one of their units they've got down if they want to cheat out units. You also got Sidun, I can't remember what this guy's name is. This one's one that you can help go against pilot space decks as well. It's very nice. Pilot on the units but give it minus stats. And you got things like Guerrilla Soldiers and Patrol, Genos Patrol Fighters, some ever nice ones. Guerrilla Soldier throwing out some extra indirect damage, which if your opponent's got nothing on board will make sure you can restand then and then swing. And Patrol Fighter being able to bounce back 3 costs or less, which is cool. Then for events, Yellow's got some loads of good ones. You got Electromagnetic Pulse, go against those space decks. If you go against a Vader deck and they put Vader on a they go ahead and deploy Vader on a ready space unit so they can attack. You can then do damage to it and then tap it down, which is cool. You also got things like Waylay, Outnumbered, and now there are 2 of them for nice cards as well. Outmaneuvered, once again against those Vader decks, tap their whole space arena so they can't, it's still tapped down so they can't attack with any of them. And then Waylay as well, bounce things back to hand, it's not a leader. And then now the 2 of them is a way to cheat out things if you control only one unit. You also got Evacuate as well as a way to bounce back everything that's not a leader back to his hand to reset a board as well, which is pretty cool for 6. So it's like a temporary board wipe and not permanent. Then Villainy, you got some really nice cards. You got more out underworld and stuff like that in Villainy. Like the top row, you got the ground units being like good ones like Bazine or Azora Singh for turn 1s. Then you got your Forlorn Manzuckus little combo as well, been really nice ones to ambush and just help to control the board. Bounty Crews, the same thing, can ambush the board but also gets you back some of your events. You can like recycle some of those good events you use. And then Cab Bane being your more top end unit. You got some good space ones as well, like Cartel Spacer, Lucky TIE Phantom, P38, Contracted Jump Master, and 7th Fleet Defender. These are nice cheaper units as well to help put in to combat those Vader's decks by putting your own space units in and helping just take out their board and control it, make sure they can't fully go and aggro you and just rush you down. Also, if you want to go for a Force Focus, because once again, Kylo doesn't need the Force, but if you want to use it, that's an option. And you got these ones. You got these top row being the Force units that either can use the Force token to make use of it, or be Force units that can go ahead and gain you the Force. And at the bottom, we got the events that either need to use the Force. Well, all of these actually need to use the Force, or either will gain you the Force token, need to use the Force to pull it off, or can use the Force to then pull off effects as well. So pretty nice options. Not necessary, because remember, Kylo doesn't need to use the Force for any of his effects on the leader. But if you want to go for it, it's an option you can actually have. So looking through this, we can see that Cunning is also a good aspect to go for Kylo. So reviewing it, we've got 4 different aspect combinations. Double Blue is not so great to play Kylo, but Command, Aggression, and Cunning are all good ways to go for it. Now the last part we've got for this video is my preferred aspects, because one thing I did get asked when I was doing this series in the beginning was what if I were to play this leader, what aspect would I prefer to play and what would be my preferred option for it? Because everybody's got a preferred way to play a leader, and I do have mine as well, and sometimes people need a little bit extra help. So normally I start putting this in now, so if people are still unsure, I'll put in my preferred aspect, so what aspect I would prefer to play if I would play this leader. So for Kylo, I can say that my preferred aspect to play for him would be yellow, and I've already got some gameplay up if you want to check it out from this week, and also deck profile on it as well. But yeah, yellow is just my preferred aspect. You got some. I like to play very control-y decks. I like controls my preferred play of method of play, and you got some pretty nice things like Frozen Carbonite is what good like upgrade you can have to like lock things down, control the game. You can also then deploy Kylo and attack with him straight away thanks to Snapshot Reflexes, or even make him invincible thanks to Shadow Intentions, which is really cool. So it's a very interesting way to play, a bit different to normal, but it's one of my preferred ways to play, and it's actually a lot of fun to play the deck as well. So that brings us to the end of the video. So that is it for this. So hopefully that's helped you understand how to build Kylo, what aspect combination we have available, all the benefits you can have to it, and then you can look around for deck lists if you're still unsure, or even just try out and go ahead and build it yourself to then build Kylo to suit you and your play style, so you can go and enjoy him as well, like I have for mine. So that is it from me today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one as we go over Malvern Talzin. Bye for now.